As soon as Akasha cut off communication, the voice of the artificial intelligence echoed throughout all communications. Samples acquired, data transmitted. Leaving the hive and flying towards Caleb at high speed, Claire quickly reached him and handed over the sample. Caleb, prepare the virus. 2 minutes. No, give me 1 minute. Caleb quickly grabbed the samples with protective gear made of divine material. Reading the information at high speed, Caleb's brain began to work, and in less than 2 seconds, he was already preparing a virus. Meanwhile, Claire joined Conan to keep the hostiles away. She pulled the sword from her waist and pointed it upwards, and soon, the entire area was illuminated by dragon fire. Spinning the sword around her, she killed hundreds of beings. Ki. Disgusting creatures, I don't even feel like fighting, Conan grumbled as he kicked a hostile that approached with enough force to make a hole in the wall, killing it instantly. Suddenly, an earthquake began to occur, and the scanners on Claire's and Conan's helmets began to sound. Ignoring the scanners, the two looked towards the hive and saw it releasing some kind of slimy monster. Alert, alert. Massive life signs detected, danger level, an abundance of natural energy detected, threat level, high-level combat god. Number of hostiles 5. Finally, she realized that these weaklings were not enough. Conan spoke as he looked at the hostiles. As Conan spoke, Claire did not stand still like a fool and immediately prepared her attack. Her helmet deformed as a mouth full of draconic teeth was seen as she took a deep breath, and then a dragon's roar boomed outward, followed by a beam of concentrated fire that immediately covered 4 of the 5 hostiles, killing them instantly. TSK, you could have let them transform. Claire narrowed her eyes and immediately approached Conan and punched him in the stomach hard enough that Conan felt his stomach twist in pain. Glancing angrily at Claire, Conan shouted, "What is this dash?" But he stopped his words when he saw Claire's look of pure hostility. It wasn't a look she gave when the brothers were playing, but a deadly look she gave only to enemies. Conan, stop playing around. Or do you want to go back to Lady Scathack so she can fix that personality of yours? Conan's sweat dropped at Claire's valid threat. Scathack could love Victor's personality that loved to fight since she was like that too, but before and now were different times. It didn't matter if you liked to fight or not. You had to prioritize the mission and complete it with 100% effort. The brothers were lions that were taught since childhood to use all their strength even when hunting a rabbit. Scathack did not joke around during their training. Unfortunately, Conan often fell back into his bad habit. You are a soldier, Conan. One on a mission, at that. I expect your full effort and total commitment to the mission. Fail me, and you fail the Empire. And I will gladly turn you over to your superiors to be fixed. Claire was not joking. Conan was a great soldier, but what good was a soldier who did not take the mission seriously and willingly let an enemy grow stronger just for fun? This kind of attitude was nothing but dangerous to himself and to all his allies. A soldier must carry out orders with 100% effort, especially those who were created directly by the hand of the Emperor. Just as the Emperor created them, the Emperor could dispose of them if they were incompetent. She was not afraid of being undone but feared not meeting the expectations of her Creator, who gave her so many gifts. Not reaching her full potential was merely an insult to him. Conan immediately turned toward the hostile and used all his strength, covering his sword with dragon fire, and sliced through the air. A fiery slash flew towards the creature and killed it instantly. I was just conserving energy, he said. That's a valid strategy, but don't let the enemy grow stronger deliberately just for your amusement. The mission takes priority over your feelings. Do not disappoint. The Emperor, Conan. Yes. Turning her eyes away from Conan, she looked towards Caleb, who had just finished. The virus. I took more than 1 minute, I need to improve further. That's true. If it were Indualine or Duhu that would have finished in less than 30 seconds. Caleb nodded in agreement. Claire didn't say this out of malice but to motivate him. After all, they were created to be the best, and striving to be the best was essential. Holding the vial containing a green liquid, Claire asked, "What should I do?" "Just inject it into the core." "Very well. You two with me. Let's move on to the next phase of the plan." Claire, Conan, and Caleb immediately flew toward the hive, their bodies completely covered by dragon fire, and they entered the core immediately. Caleb and Conan were tasked with keeping Claire safe, and when the group arrived at the core of the hive, Claire immediately injected the virus. A horrific scream was heard across the planet, and the next moment, the hive stopped pulsing. Hive activity levels declining, minimal biological functions. All hive efforts are now focused on defending against the virus. How long will the effects last? Claire asked Caleb. 24 terrestrial hours, I can make more, but the effects will diminish with each dose. I predict we can keep it dormant for 7 terrestrial days. After that, it will become completely immune to the virus and all its variants. That's enough time, Claire said, then ordered, orbital cannons. Bathe this planet in imperial fire. Kiana POV. You heard the commander. Fire. Kiana ordered. Yes. Immediately, the ships in orbit began firing on the planet. As a projectile touched the surface, a 500-meter area instantly caught fire, killing hundreds of hostiles. Hostile count decreasing. Keep firing, I want to see this planet glow red like the fires of hell. Kiana ordered. A full 5 minutes of orbital bombardment rendered the entire planet glowing with fire, killing all creatures on the surface. Count finished, hostiles detected, 50,233,245, the artificial intelligence spoke. Tisk, those numbers must be deep in the soil. Kiana said. Her guess was correct, and as soon as the artificial intelligence stopped counting how many had died, a map of the planet was displayed showing several life signals underground. Begin Phase 2. Soldiers, it's time to do our job. Yes. 18,000 soldiers will go with me. The rest should stay on the Slayers for protection and future orders. Yes. Kiana, along with Kalius, who was on another spacecraft, immediately went to the launch hangar. Just like Claire, Conan, and Caleb did, they jumped from orbit. Soon, in the skies of the infested planet, several soldiers beginning to enter the atmosphere could be seen, soldiers who would bring destruction to the enemies of the Empire. The sky was covered as if meteors were falling to the planet. When the 18,000 soldiers, along with Kiana and Salus, were 200 meters above the ground, they began to slow down. Kiana and Salus unfolded their dragon wings while the regular soldiers had the thrusters on their armor activated automatically. Soon, all of them landed on the planet, causing a rumble due to their weight, ignoring the fire. After all, they were beings of fire and such a thing could not affect them, not to mention the armor also protected them. Split into squads of 50 soldiers. Take as much as you can and kill the enemy. No mercy, no restraint, eliminate everything. Brothers, trust your instincts, trust the Emperor, bring the glory of the Empire to these disgusting aliens, Kiana ordered. Yes. While the process of capturing the planet was underway, one of the brothers was standing on the bridge of his ship, looking at the image of a planet light years away. Despite being light years away, the image in front of him was the real-time image, since the Empire's technology was that advanced. A fleet won't be enough to conquer this planet, John muttered to himself. Analysis complete, Commander. One of the operators spoke. Put it on the screen. Yes. Instantly, information about the planet was displayed for all to see. As expected, one fleet won't be enough, I'll need my brothers or even one of our gods. John thought. The enemy empire's strength was high. They had several primordial gods, a mature world tree that had already developed its dark side, and a united society. The strongest god on this planet is a first-generation primordial. John didn't know what divinity the god possessed, but depending on which one it was, he would need reinforcements. Data acquired, the current fleet will not be able to effectively conquer the planet, sending reinforcements. Akasha's voice resounded throughout the ship, catching everyone by surprise, and then a hologram of Akasha's form appeared on the screen. An operator immediately looked at the screen and saw the woman's unmistakable features. When he saw the woman's violet eyes, he immediately identified her as the Emperor's daughter. After all, it was common knowledge that, except for the Empress, all of the Emperor's daughters had violet eyes. Lady Akasha. John and the soldiers present immediately knelt down. Unlike the operator, John knew Akasha since it was his duty to know his direct superiors. Ignoring the soldiers, Akasha was focused on her work and immediately contacted one of her mothers to explain the situation. Soon, her voice was heard again. Initiating transfer. Rose Elderblood, Eleanor Elderblood, and their Valkyries have been successfully transferred. Command of the Slayer will be passed to the highest authority present. Do you have any objections, Commander John? No, John replied, still in the same position. Very well, Commander John, you can rest. I will leave the command in the wise hands of my mothers. The moment John heard the command, he got up from the ground and looked towards the entrance, a gesture that everyone followed as well. Akasha's image disappeared, and then they heard the door open as two women over 4 meters tall entered. They were wearing full armor that only left their heads exposed. Their subordinates were taller than in the past, measuring 2 meters tall, but still much shorter than the goddesses present. The very presence of Eleanor and Rose commanded respect from everyone present. This was the weight of a dragon god and a grandmaster. Ladies and gentlemen, I heard my daughter's plight, and we came in response. Eleanor spoke with a serious face. She approached the commander's chair, and as she was getting closer, reality was doubled in that area, and the chair took on the form of a throne of dark green colors, with shades of black. Grabbing her long white hair and throwing it in front of her so as not to sit on it, Eleanor sat on the throne. Such a demonstration did not go unnoticed by everyone here, and only John understood exactly what she did. Akasha, be a sweetheart and give me the report from this front, Rose said. Yes, mother. The information flashed onto Rose's retina, and she read it all at high speed. In less than a couple of seconds, she understood everything that was happening. The same happened to Eleanor. I see, is it in the Emperor's plans to conquer this planet by force? Eleanor asked. Operations Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, and Delta aim to conquer all the planets observed by the Emperor during that event. Everyone knew that that event was when Victor turned into a dragon. Operation Delta is almost complete. As soon as they complete the mission there, they will come here to provide support. I assume that Alpha and Charlie are in Velnora's hands, correct? Yes, Mother Velnora will personally conquer the other 2 remaining planets. Once those planets are conquered, she will set out to map all of the galaxy in that sector. While mother and daughter talked, the subordinates remained silent. Even the Valkyries did not interfere. After all, that level of authority was beyond them. Very well, I have decided. Eleanor gave a small, cold smile. We will invade the planet today. May I ask how? We will attack the leaders. Capture the gods who can be useful as resources for the empire, and eliminate the useless ones. When the gods fall, the population will completely lose the will to fight. Mother, it is not that simple. A cornered animal can be very dangerous. If there was one thing Akasha learned in the simulation, it was not to be surprised by the actions that a group of people do in desperation. Ah, my dear daughter, I know very well how animals work. After all, you know what my old territory was like, right? Yes. Believe me, they will surrender. No matter the civilization, there will always be those who want to see the arrogant gods bleed. Even ours is no exception. These were the unspoken words by Eleanor that Akasha and Rose understood, which was why the images of stern gods, who reward hard work, were important. They could not act like arrogant gods who did not care about their people. With their draconic senses, Rose and Eleanor, the moment they arrived in this solar system, looked in the direction of the planet and understood how their society worked. Although these gods were more intelligent than the others, and there were competent gods there, most of them were essentially arrogant, especially the third and fourth generation gods who were children of the gods who made the empire what it was today. It's a good thing we made sure to teach our daughters properly, or something like this could have happened to us too. Eleanor thought. Very well, I'll leave Operation Bravo in your capable hands. Once Operation Delta is complete, I'll order them to join Mother Velnora. As soon as Akasha's image disappeared again, Eleanor spoke. Valkyries, your participation will be important today. The Valkyries' faces lit up. Finally some action. Alexa whispered excitedly. But since everyone present had supernatural senses, they all heard what she said but decided not to comment on it. About the plan. Are we going to do that? Rose asked her sister. A small smile appeared on Eleanor's face, yes. Fufufu, this will be fun. You deal with the primordial god, I'll go after the world tree after my performance. John and the Valkyries deal with the other gods. By that time, everyone should be in the same place, and it will be very easy to deal with them like this. Okay, this arrangement was fine with Rose. Edited by DAV0. Earth, North America continent somewhere in former Canada, Temple of the Blood God. In the center of the city, the Temple of the God stood out for its robust and elegant structure. The white marble walls caught the sunlight, illuminating the path that led to the temple. A series of steps led to the portico, supported by Corinthian columns that lined up towards a detailed frieze with images of one of the emperor's divine battles. Inside, the bronze doors opened onto a vast space. The floor was covered in mosaics depicting battles and mythological events, while statues of deities were arranged in niches along the walls. Each statue showed unique characteristics, capturing the essence of each official dragon goddess that was part of the pantheon. After all, some dragon goddesses were not there because they did not want to be worshipped or because they did not make public appearances. Women such as Bruna, Kagaya, Eve, Roberta, Maria, and Maya were not present here, as were many others who did not make public appearances. It was estimated that not even the temple knew how many dragon gods there were. Because of this, when a dragon goddess appeared, she was immediately registered as part of the Dragon Nest pantheon. Usually, when this happened, one of the bishops of the religion would come with basic information about this particular goddess and what kind of domain she represented. Although these goddesses were important, they were not as important as the emperor himself for the faithful. They came here in search of the emperor's teachings. After all, he was the god king who created all the other gods in his pantheon. If you asked the faithful which god they worshipped the most, 10 out of 9 would point to the image of the emperor. And that was all well and good since it meant that the empire's efforts were coming to fruition, and the more people believed in the emperor's divine grace, the better it would be. In the heart of the temple, there was a golden altar where the faithful left offerings of fruits and grains. Incense burned softly, perfuming the air. The open ceiling over the altar allowed natural light to shine into this central area, creating a focal point for the ceremonies. Suddenly, a portal opened on the altar where the highest-ranking bishops usually stood, and a woman stepped out with 2 other women who had their faces covered. Why, Your Holiness! One of the faithful gasped as he saw the face of the supreme authority of the blood god religion, the woman closest to the emperor, and who had been trained by him, the leader of the religion, High Priestess Valeria Alakarth. A small wave of murmuring began to spread before these murmurs turned into low-voiced conversations, and soon everyone present was talking. Is that the priestess? The woman closest to God? This is the first time I've seen her in person. She's so beautiful. Ignoring the murmurs, Valeria looked at the women who were approaching with dresses that looked like an alternative version of nun dresses. The dress was tighter, highlighting the women's bodies. The dress was not too big, but not too small either, and was just big enough to not obstruct their movements. After all, they weren't just nuns, they were the temple guards too. On their shoulders was the image of a dragon's head, and all of them were wearing a hood to hide their identity. Obviously, the clothes they were wearing were not normal, and although they were not as special as the Empire's armor, they were still dresses made by a rune master. They were battle nuns, sisters who protected the temple, and the other sisters. And, if necessary, they also performed missions for the highest authorities of the religion of the Blood God. Their levels varied, but without exception, all of them could fight a mature vampire, some even being capable of fighting and defeating some elder vampires in training. Together, they could even defeat a low-level god. The religion of the blood god followed the dogma of the emperor. They did not promote mediocrity, and those who reached the combat positions were, without exception, all excellent. And to exercise such a vital function, all were blessed not only by Aphrodite but also by Scathach and Nyx. The reason they wore hoods was to protect their identities. After all, it was a dangerous job, and someone could always want revenge, although the fool who did so would have a one-way ticket to hell. Attacking a battle sister was the same as declaring war on the entire religion of the blood god. And if there was one thing the religion of the blood god was not afraid of, it was going to war. Your Holiness. The 10 battle sisters who approached immediately knelt in front of Valeria. Pass on my orders, sisters. When Valeria began to speak, the entire hall immediately fell silent. Her presence commanded respect, and her words carried an immeasurable weight to these normal people. Her words echoed throughout the temple. Even if she wasn't shouting, everyone could hear her clearly. The promised day has arrived. I want everyone moving towards the goal. By dawn, everything must be in the Emperor's hands. Valeria ordered. For a few seconds, the battle sisters did not register what she had said, but when their minds processed the information, their faces immediately lit with happiness and anticipation. Slowly, smiles began to appear on the battle sisters present here, and they immediately stood up and began giving orders. The temple is closed. Visitors must kindly leave. Sisters, spread the word. The promised day has arrived. I repeat, the promised day has arrived. Valeria's words were not only heard in this specific temple, but were also heard in all the temples scattered across the earth. As a united force, in less than 5 minutes, all the forces of the blood god religion were moving towards their goal. The battle sisters immediately joined forces with the bishops, formed a squad, and began to act. Their plan? There was no plan. The promised day meant one thing. At dawn, everything will be in the hands of the emperor, and they must eliminate all the important figures of the pagan gods who refused to ally with the emperor. Immediately, a squad of 1,000 battle sisters was present in front of Valeria. Slamming her staff on the ground with a bang, Valeria raised her left hand as she spoke with a voice that resonated not only to these 1,000 battle sisters but to all the temples and battle sisters spread across the planet. Sisters. The promised day has come. Today, we stain ourselves with blood so that tomorrow, our descendants will not have to. Today, we will eliminate the sins of this world. Today, we bring the grace of the emperor to these pagan gods. Take care of your sisters, sharpen your weapons, trust your instincts, and kill all enemies. Today, we offer our blood and the blood of our enemies to the blood god. Blood for 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 the blood god. With a bloodthirsty smile on her face, Valeria shouted as she swung her staff. For the emperor. Immediately, everyone present here was covered by a dark aura with violet hues, and not just the sisters present here but all the sisters of battle and the bishops of the planet received this power. After all, they were all connected to the supreme priestess. For the emperor. For the emperor, n/o/vel/b/in.c/om. For the emperor. These words resounded throughout the entire planet. European continent, somewhere near England. What? What are you dash? Don't let anyone escape. All those of high rank, who are linked to the pagan gods, must die. A woman with wolf ears and a wolf tail ordered. You lunatic whores dash, a battle sister appeared behind the man and pierced his chest. In an attempt to fight for his life, the man grabbed the woman's hood tightly, but that didn't stop the woman's hand from grabbing a dagger and cutting off the man's head. Disgusting heathens. The woman spat, now showing her face. She clearly had a non-human appearance, with cars that looked like fish fins, her neck was covered in blue scales, and her hair was an unnatural blue. She was a mermaid. Sister, your hood. The werewolf woman spoke. Yes, she quickly covered her face. One thing in common with all blood god worshippers across the world was that their members were not entirely composed of humans. They were composed of all races, even nearly extinct. Races that saw religion as a form of protection like this mermaid. Archbishop, everyone is dead. Good, let's move on to the next targets. For the emperor. For the emperor. Scenes like these were spread across all areas of the globe, regardless of whether the territory belonged to a different pantheon or not. All those who were not allies of the emperor were targets, meaning that the territory of the Hindu pantheon was no different. Shiva temple. And that's what's happening. Thank you, you may leave. Yes. Kali, do you have any idea why the emperor is moving this way? Kali shook her head in denial. Shiva sighed. The entire planet is being systematically attacked in all spheres of influence. The emperor is eliminating all forces that possibly oppose his empire and ideology. No matter how small or weak. This is a mass purge. Shiva had to admit, he was quite impressed. Victor's method of eliminating the root of the problem was something he would actually do if he had the power Victor held. How envious. If I had that power, I would be the one in this position. He thought. When Kali opened her mouth to speak, she and Shiva immediately looked in one direction. The sunny atmosphere of the Pantheon darkened, and space was shattered as a horrible and macabre pressure fell over the Pantheon. He's here. Kali whispered as she increased her power. She wasn't confident in winning, but she wouldn't stand still if her Pantheon was attacked. From the darkness of the void between dimensions, an enormous hand grabbed space and entered the territory of the gods. Standing 5 meters tall, wearing his imperial armor that had a cape composed of miasma, the Dragon Emperor, Victor Elderblood, was here. Shiva wanted to laugh. The defenses he had carefully raised from within his Pantheon were like wet tissue paper in front of this monster. When the Emperor's presence completely entered the barrier of the Pantheon, the pressure felt by everyone became even more extraordinary. No matter if they were high-level gods or even primordial gods, everyone was feeling such tremendous pressure that they were unable to breathe normally. Low-level gods simply died from Victor's own overwhelming presence. Normally, Victor regulated his own existence since he was so overwhelmingly strong that his own presence distorted space and caused damage to his surroundings. Even his daughters, who were his blood, couldn't withstand this kind of power, and because. But now, Victor wasn't limiting himself. He was letting all of his power as the Dragon God Emperor out. 20. 30, 100. 1000, just how many divinities does this monster have? Shiva just realized that he had misjudged this monster. Everyone had misjudged him. And even though he tried to overestimate Victor's power, his limit was something far beyond his imagination. As the god of negativity, Victor represented all negative divinities, and in his divine wars consuming gods, he'd consumed their divinities as well. The limit of divinities? Victor didn't have any. The more he consumed, the stronger he became. And even now, his clones were consuming useless gods from the Celtic pantheon and other smaller pantheons that refused to join him. Still in the same position in the air, Victor spoke, "The time for playing is over, Shiva. I will give you 2 choices." He raised 2 of his fingers. First, surrender now, and annex yourselves to the Empire, thus losing all your authority. Second, die here and be useful in death. Choose. Victor, why don't we make an alliance? You weren't against it before, right? Why this sudden change? Victor looked at Kali, his stoic face never changing. An alliance is only viable when both parties are of equal strength and standing. A blue power began to leak from Victor's body, and suddenly, the sky of the Pantheon changed color to crystal blue, and enormous beings could be seen. Gigantic leviathans, the smallest of which was the size of a damn mountain. Bloody hell. Shiva and Kali gulped. From the hole in space behind Victor, the Emperor's heralds emerged and positioned themselves around him. Their strongest herald, War, was even stronger than Shiva, and his other heralds were on par with him. It didn't end there, as red portals opened in the sky, revealing demonic forces whose numbers were incalculable. The vanguard of these demons were the demonic dragon goddesses, Victor's wives, who were just waiting on the order to invade the Pantheon. Commanding the entire legion of demons from hell was none other than Skathak Elderblood, the god killer, anxiously waiting for Shiva not to surrender. Adding these beings, with those monsters in the sky, the forces of the Empire, the Emperor himself, along with the dragon goddesses who were his wives, not to mention his allies from other pantheons. They really had no idea of the Empire's strengths. The disparity in strength was so ridiculous that it wasn't even funny. Do you think you're on the same level as me? The answer to that question was obvious. In order for there to be an alliance, you must offer something in return. Yes, I could make you useful, as you too are the strongest gods outside of my group, but you, Shiva, you won't change. Even if you join my empire, you will scheme against me. Victor's draconic eyes looked at him as if he was seeing the core of the god's soul. In a way, you are the same as me. If you had all my power, you would be doing the same thing as me, right? Putting everything under your control. I think all the god kings would do the same thing as you, Shiva spoke honestly. That's true. The only reason Shiva didn't do what Victor was doing now in the past was because he didn't have enough strength to do so. The same applied to the other god kings. They were all greedy, and they all yearned to conquer more, but it's okay to possess such a scheming personality. I can fix you and make you useful. Victor took the cliché expression, "I can fix her," to another level with that statement. A small smile appeared on Victor's face, breaking your spirit completely and making you docile like an obedient dog is very easy. Shiva shuddered slightly for a few seconds when he saw Victor's face distort into something horrible. What is that? Was that the same as last time? But this feeling is much worse than before. So? What is your decision? Alive or dead, it doesn't matter to me. You will be useful to me all the same. If they surrendered, they would be useful in future wars. If they chose to fight, Victor, he would have to kill Kali first. After all, of the two, she was the more dangerous here. If she became a primordial, she would enter the jurisdiction of the primordials, and this conflict would escalate even further, so her expedient death was essential. Looking around, Shiva sighed and opened his mouth, "I